So, this is not a tutorial. I'm gonna start off right there. This is I don't know what this is actually. I just know it's not a tutorial, so don't ask me for anything. I've always liked art. I've always wanted to draw. I think one of my first like library books when I was young was actually a book that taught you how to draw anime characters. And the first thing I drew were two sets of eyes. One was male, the other one was female. I framed it and everything. It was nice. But then I became a bookworm. I still am a bookworm, and now I read, and I never actually got into drawing like that. However, these days I'm doing more drawing, and not just drawing like pencil and paper. I'm kind of doing anything that puts me in a position to create, I guess. So the VRoid avatar thing, that's one thing. That's like I'm creating something. I am also doing digital art. I'm creating a character in that, and I even draw on like pencil and paper. This is not to say I'm good at it. I don't have a teacher. I don't have a course that I'm taking. I am it's a mix of YouTube tutorials and Pinterest tutorials and me looking up images on Google and trying to copy aspects that's, I don't know, speak to me or something. But all that to say, please don't look at this as me trying to teach you how to do VRoid Studio. I had to look up help on how to use VRoid Studio. Yeah. So, we have gathered here today to talk about the reason why adulthood scared me. I was in high school, and I came to the realization that there were no more, I call them booms, right? There were no more booms after graduating from college. So how did I define booms? So booms were like, it's better to just kind of describe it than to actually try to define it, because I don't have the vocabulary for a proper definition. So you're in like preschool, kindergarten, we're gonna just combine those for no reason. Boom. Then you go to elementary school. Then you hit 5th grade, boom, you go to middle school. Hit 8th grade, boom, you go to high school. You catching my drift? So booms for me, I guess, were structure, I guess. I keep saying I guess. Were a kind of structure that kind of framed where I was in life. Because the one thing I always knew was that I was eventually going to graduate from where I was and move on to somewhere new. There was a comfort in knowing that it was some kind of consistency, you know? No matter what, first year, unless there was some extra variable that, like, you repeated a course or you dropped out of school, you know, that kind of stuff. No matter what, a first grader would one day after a year become a second grader, who would then become a third grader, who would then become a fourth grader. And with each grade you go up, you become different. Your friend groups might change a little bit. The content you're learning in school is different. The activities you're taking are different. Your interests might be different. But the world kind of levels you up. And I think I spent quite a bit of time when I was young comparing myself. I played too many MMORPGs where it kind of fucked with my understanding of movement in life. And everything seemed like it was a new level in a game, right? The world happened to me as opposed to me doing anything to the world. Granted, I studied and I did all that stuff and I got good grades, and that's what helped me graduate to the next level. But essentially, I was going to move up to another level. That was the thing, you upgraded. And then I was in high school and I thought about college, and I realized after you graduated, unless you were going to further education, like grad school or whatever, after you graduated, there wasn't any more natural booms, you know? Now, if you were in a relationship, then you could get married and have kids, sure. You could get a job, get promoted, get a new job, that kind of stuff, sure. But the thing that made those different from the booms was that the booms were defined on a linear scale, on a time scale, right? You knew that after 10 months, roughly, you were going to hit summer, and after that summer, which was going to be 2 to 3 months, you were going to be on a new level. You would have leveled up. So after about a year, you will have leveled up. After another year, you'll have leveled up. And besides not failing your courses, nothing was going to change this. Or besides some like crazy thing, something happening in your life to alter this path, you were going to go on that path. And what made it better was that everyone who was your age was likely going on that same path as you, regardless of where they are in the world. They might be a year older than you or a year younger than you in the same place as you based on culture or the education system in a different country, but that same path of that same education thing, on average, other people were doing that same path as you. And the times were locked. In adulthood, let's say you're in a relationship, there is no set time for when you know your partner may or may not propose to you if that's something you want. And then beyond that, there's no set time to know. Some people try to schedule their lives, but for the average person, things just kind of happen, you know? There's no set time that's going to tell you when you're going to get pregnant and have a child, or when you're going to get pregnant again and have another child. Or with work, there is no set time that's going to tell you when you're going to get promoted. Some people might have it in their contracts, and some people have a raise written as their contracts. But raises, I don't count raises, because though your finances go up, which is great, you might still be at the same job level. Nothing else has changed. And that's the important part about the boom, is that you're going through change in one fell swoop. The things you're learning in middle school, the classes you're taking in middle school, the people you're around in middle school, are likely not going to be, the structure is going to completely change by the time you're in 9th grade, right? You're no longer just sitting in one class for 4 hours and then breaking another 4 hours. I'm generalizing. You're going from period to period. You have different people in each class. You're learning different things in each class. Your goals are different in each class. All of that is different than 8th grade. If you get a raise, your job might not change. If you get a promotion, your job will change, and so there's that. But there's no set time that if you work for this many years, you're guaranteed to get a promotion. You might get it earlier, you might get it later. You might have to go to someone and say, hey, I've been working here for a while. Can I please get a raise, you know? But I think the one that really shook me was friendships. Because that's what really kind of wrapped it all in a little bow for me, was the realization that what came with adulthood that I was freaking out about in high school for like half a second, then I got distracted by something else, was the intentionality of it all. Things no longer happen to you. You needed to make things happen. Before things would happen, you would direct their path. Now you need to make things happen and then direct their path. If you wanted to maintain friendships beyond college, you had to be intentional about it. You had to call them, text them, contact them, set up meetings. And oh my gosh, setting up meetings. The beautiful thing about college was really just the ability to walk to a friend's room, knock on their door, and know they probably are free. Or if they have something to do, you might be able to tag along. Because just like with all the other grades, because they were around your age, their lives, or in that same boom section as you, there was an overlap. Chances are their lives were going at a similar pace as yours, you know? They probably had certain classes in the middle of the day, and they were probably free at night as well. They probably had activities just like you did. And at 2 a.m. at morning, they were probably awake just like you were. You could just knock on their door and you guys could just hang out. There was certain kind of comfort in knowing that they were just as free as you and just as restricted as you. And more importantly, they were around you. They lived where you lived to some extent. If you lived on campus, anyway, I lived on campus. But post college, it becomes more of an effort to interact with the people that were so easy to talk to and who you always have something to talk about. Because your lives overlap so much, you guys could always talk about what's happening with the school, or did you see that big performance on the quad, or did you hear about what happened with this thing, or did you get homework for chemistry and do you hate it as much as I do, or did you hear about that professor? These were things that were consistent. There was always something to talk about. But now their lives and your lives are so separate that's not a natural thing anymore. If you want to maintain a friendship, you have to be intentional about it. You have to reach out to them, you have to call them, and you have to schedule your meetings. That blew my mind when I realized that my calendar now had entire events that were just hang out with friend A or hang out with friend B, get brunch with friend D, sleep over with friend C. Like that, I used to only schedule my classes. Now I'm scheduling my friends. And you have to schedule your friends, otherwise you run out of things to talk about, because you're no longer talking about things that you both experience. You're talking about things that are completely independent of each other. Let me tell you about my life and you can tell me about your life. And there's a reason people say adult friendships can be so hard, because I just feel like the thing that spooked me about it all was I didn't feel like college was going to prepare me to jump into the rest of my life, if that makes sense. I graduate from college and then I just have the rest of forever, just 20, 40, 20, wow, that's cute, 30, 40 or more so years of just working. You go to work, you come home, you go to work, you come home, and there are no booms that you don't make happen yourself. I took a lot of extracurriculars in college because I was like, if I'm paying all this money, I'm getting my money's worth, you know? So as a result, I ended up having more credits than like the average student that was at my age. And most of my credits were not related to my major at all. No, not most of them, that's a lie. Most of those extra credits were not related to my major at all. They were things I just wanted to learn. I took a voice class just because I wanted to learn how to sing. I took a art class. I wanted to learn some like art foundation. I took a swimming class because I always wanted to learn how to swim. I did all of this in college because I could. And I took Taekwondo because I wanted to learn martial arts. I was a part of a film club, and I did things because I wanted to do them and because they were accessible, they were there. In adulthood, do I suddenly not want to do those things anymore? No. I still want to do those things, but now when I look up a martial arts class, I'm surrounded by like a shit ton. I don't know how much they cost, which matters now because in college, you already paid your tuition to some extent. You didn't have to worry about price. You just showed up. If you wanted to learn wushu, you just showed up. Now I have to think about price because it's part of my finances. I have to budget my I have to budget my life. Otherwise I will run out of money, and we can't run out of money. So I need to look at reviews to make sure it's a good place to learn. I have to look at distance to think about how far would it take me to get there and then get back home. All of these things didn't exist before, right? Before, transportation was me walking down the main street on my campus. Preparation was just seeing if I had time in between my classes, or if I had time after my classes, which everyone did because all of the clubs would all exist around the same time, which was after most classes were over. You know, with the exceptions of some late night classes, most classes happened during the bulk of the day, and then at night you usually had time, and so all the clubs happened around then, usually. But now it's like, if I want to learn how to sing, if I want to learn how to draw, if I want to learn how to do martial arts, I have to. The drawing one is probably the easiest one because you can go online. I mean, people can argue that most of them are easier because you can just go online, but not everyone learns the same. Some people need a teacher. And if you need a teacher to teach you how to sing, you have to go looking for that. If you need a teacher to teach you how to do martial arts, you have to go looking for that. Same with drawing classes. And that brings us to our sponsor, Sketch. I'm kidding. I'm not sponsored by anyone. But it's cool to have those things, but it's like, it's so different from how college was, where you could just wake up and if you wanted something, it was accessible. So like that was a spooky thing. It felt like I was hopping into a sea of options but no direction. It felt like I was walking into an open world video game. That's what it is. It felt like someone dropped me in Skyrim and said, all right, have fun, I guess. Like, okay, that's lovely, but some direction could be helpful. Like, where do I go? They're like, that's not for us to decide, sis. You gotta figure that out on your own. It's like, okay. So now it's like, okay, I have a sword and a shit. I guess I'm just gonna pick a direction and go and hope I don't completely fuck up and walk into a fucking giant at levels nothing, you know? Because life is all about, like, you have to pick a direction, you have to make it work, you know? Like, I'm not gonna get into, like, jobs, because that itself is a whole video, oh my goodness. But, like, if you need a job, you need to go out there and look for that job. And that could take months. It could take some people years, you know? But if you don't go looking for that job, you will not have a job. You know, if you want a partner in your life, a relationship, you have to go looking for that relationship. The fun thing about college was that if you found someone in your class, for example, that you liked, you knew that fucker was going to be there the next week. If not the next, 2 days, the next week, they were going to be there. Why? Because you were going to be there. Why? Because there was class. You had class, so you were both going to be there. That made those relationships easy. and you had something to talk about. Oh my god, this homework is crazy. Wow, your eyes are so pretty. You know, you could just, that was please don't use that line. That was easy. That was easy. But now it's like, if you want a relationship and you go out to like the park and you hang out there, you have no guarantee that that cute somebody that you saw across the park is going to be there the next day. So you might have to just go and talk to them today and take whatever L they might hand you, or W if you're lucky. But you know, you don't have that guarantee. You have to get their number. And then beyond that, you have to talk to them regularly, and you can't talk to them about, oh my gosh, the chemistry homework was so crazy, because you don't have chemistry homework. You can't talk to them about, oh my god, my day at work today was like, don't you hate Excel sheets? They might not do Excel sheets where they work. You have to, your conversation has to be bridging the gap between two completely independent things. In college, you guys always, there was one consistent thing. In high school, middle school, whatever, there was always a consistent thing, and it was where we were at that moment. Our lives overlapped. Now they don't, and you're looking for overlap while at the same time still trying to just function in your own world and not letting their overlap overwhelm your oh my god, it's just not letting their lives like negatively affect your life, still having your life, but being a part of their life, and vice versa, having them be a part of your life. And now I just sound crazy, but I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to get to. It scared me when I was in high school, the idea that I had to be so intentional about anything moving forward, because the world no longer happened to me. I had to happen to the world. If I wanted to learn something, I have to go out there, do the research, and figure it out and learn it. If I wanted to get a new job, I have to go out there, apply for hella jobs. Like, the thing about college application season, it's a whole fucking season. The colleges are expecting your application. They're waiting for your application, and you're waiting for them to tell you yes or no. And you knew that by the end of May, you were, or I don't actually remember, it was a while ago, but you knew by the end of a certain month, you were going to get your yes or your no. Period. Right? Everyone was doing the same thing at the same time, expecting the same, everything was happening all at once. Now, when you're applying for jobs, you're just applying for jobs consistently. Every day, a new job, and you never know if they were going to get back to you. You didn't know to expect a response by the end of November, because some jobs you just applied to at the end of November. And now you have to, God knows how long you have to wait for that application. Some applications will never get back to you. And this isn't me bitching, this isn't me complaining. It's just me sitting in kind of the all of it all, and just the way humans and adults, I guess, are forced to adapt in a way to that sudden change of having a boom, having expectations, having an idea, having your life have some level of balance and consistency and structure, and then having all of that fall apart. And now you have to build up a new structure that fits your life. They're goods and they're bads, you know, because on one hand, you can decide how your life runs at this point. You get to decide your own framework. You get to build your own walls and decide what your frame looks like, or if you don't even want to have a frame. But on the other end of it, it's like, it can be overwhelming and scary not knowing what's coming next, not having a goal, not knowing that there's an easy way to get to where you're supposed to be. Having to be the one to start everything. Things don't just start and you're just on the ride for it. You have to start the car, I guess. You have to be the one to make that decision, and you have to be the one to move on that decision. Not everyone handles that well. I think I've adjusted fairly well to adulthood. I think work was probably the hardest thing to adjust to, like sitting with the idea that I'm going to be working and it's fucking 9 to 8. What is it? 9 to 5 every day for the next 30. I don't want to think about it. Oh my god. Like, that alone is just it's borderline traumatic, just the idea that this is supposed to be it. Even if I switch jobs, that's still the thing, is that work just continues forever. And I'm not thinking about it. We're coming back. We're here. That was fine. That was okay to adjust to. The hardest parts to adjust to were the social things, because those were not handed to you as cleanly as they were before. If I want to hang out with my friends, I have to put it in my calendar, or I'll forget, I guess. Or I might not be able to hang out with them because they could be busy, I could be busy, and we have to worry about transportation and getting to each other. And these things didn't exist before, but now they do, and you have to adjust to them if you want to keep having friends. if you don't want to have friends, it doesn't matter, but everyone needs friends. And if you don't want to be lonely, if you want to maintain relationships, those relationships, specifically the ones that were important to you, you have to be intentional about it, and they have to be intentional about it. I had a friend who was like talking about how he felt bad that he wasn't reaching out to people, and I was like, okay, but those same people haven't been reaching out to you either. Like, it's one thing if they were reaching out to you and you never reached out to them, then you're kind of an asshole. But if you're not reaching out to them, but they're not reaching out to you either, then clearly both of you have decided that neither of you is someone that they need in their life at a certain, like, they might still like you and appreciate and want to hang out with you whenever you're in town or whenever you're near, whenever you're free, but they might not want to talk to you every day. You might not be like their best bestie, you know? But that's fine because they're not yours either. That it's okay to not be in someone's heart, especially if that person's not in your heart. You can also just be acquaintances. You can also just be like regular friends who see each other twice a year. These adulthood really just kind of reshapes so many things. Friendship has changed so much since graduating from college, and what that means, what that looks like, what helped me realize like who I want to be friends with, and the extent I'll go to like keep them as friends and maintain those relationships and those bonds. And also just learning how some people interact so differently. Like some of my friends, we don't text very much because we're hanging out people. We like to see each other face to face. Whereas other friends, they're huge texters. And for them, we could just text forever. And yet to me, both of those friend groups are quite balanced, you know? They just communicate differently. So learning how people communicate differently. And what scared me in high school was that I wasn't sure if college was going to be the transitionary phase that I needed it to be to get comfortable with that. Going through hallway after hallway after hallway just to find yourself in a large open room with multiple doors. And you're like, wait a second. Back there was only ever one door. You just went through the one door and you wound up where you needed to be. Now all of a sudden I've got options? Who told you to give me options? It's like, you know how they say that like a menu with 3 items does better than a menu with like 300 items because there are less options, so it's easier. And I think that's kind of what it is. Like those first, like, I can't even say 18, like truly 21, 22 years are easier in a sense because they have a frame around them. They have a structure. And even in high school, I could see in the horizon a period of my life, of my time, that would come without structure. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, no, no. What do you mean? I'm just supposed to graduate and then the rest of life is just quote unquote this. It's just work. It's just like there's people like to make that joke about like learning how to make your own doctor's appointment. You know, there's a lot of people who talk about adulthood as in adulthood is doctor's appointments and house payments and bills and that kind of stuff, right? Adulthood to me, like the scary things about adulthood to me, since I was in high school, was the unexpected intentionality of everything. Honestly, those first few months of graduating and knowing I had friends, in my heart of hearts, I knew I had friends, but not talking to them, not seeing them, not even being able to reach out to them because I could call them and they could not pick up. And that just wasn't normal for me at that point. I was used to being able to find my friends easily. And if not this group of friends, then that group of friends. But now it's like when none of your friends pick up the phone or none of your friends text you back for a while. And then they text you back and like, hey, what's up? And it's like, bitch, I texted you 20 minutes ago. Where have you been? I've been lonely. Why did you leave me alone? It's not being able to decide at 11 p.m. that you wanted to watch a movie and then hop in your one friend with a car vehicle and then go to watch like a midnight showing of Aquaman. You know, it's not being able to leave your dorm room at 10 p.m., walk up like a tiny hill, knock on a friend's door, and just sit on their couch and talk or watch a movie or watch anime. It's not being able to do those things easily Because before you could just do that. Now, if you want to like hang out with someone, you have to call them, make sure they're free for the day you want to hang out, and then put it in your calendar. Otherwise, you might forget or you might double book. As I said earlier, life doesn't stop, so you have to adapt to it, and that's what I had to do. I had to adapt to it, and I had to get into the vibe of expecting my friends to not always be free on my time. I had to get into the vibe of saying, when are you free, as opposed to let's go do things now, because I already know you free, because girl, we got the same classes, you know? It's remembering the thing. Oh my gosh, I think this is probably what saved me from absolutely losing it, was remembering the things that I enjoyed doing in college and the things that I wanted to do and the things that I wanted to do in college, and then doing them now. It's like I always wanted to draw, I never could because of classes and clubs and jobs, but now I can do that, so I'll just do that. It's like life is just a matter of filling up space that normally would have been filled with something else, or would have been easily fillable. Now it's a little bit more effort, but it's also teaching me what I really value. There's some things I really wanted to do, but going through the process of actually doing them, I was like, you know what, I don't want to do it this badly. I enjoyed doing it then because it was easy. Now it was easy to just walk down the street and go to that thing, but now it requires a lot more effort that I'm not willing to put into it. I guess I don't care about it as much as I thought I did, so I can throw that away. Oh my god, I just thought about that in terms of like friends. Ugh. Yeah, don't throw your friends away. But yeah, there's no conclusion to this. There's no big haha, and what I've learned is, and here's what you should blah, blah, blah. Like, don't ask me for advice. I don't have any for you. It's just that was interesting. That was an interesting thing to learn in adulthood, is that the scariest part isn't learning how to make doctor's appointments. The scariest part is learning how to make friend appointments. But just like with a doctor's appointment, it's valuable and necessary. And if you can do it, you should do it. Just do something. This is me doing that. Something.